Yeah, guys, my question is, when an EC2 instance is created or launched, how do you people access that or log into that? Yeah. You clear with my question? Are you able to hear me? I'm saying I have created or launched an EC2 instance. So how do I connect to that?
IP address,
Yeah, that's good. So
DNS,
must need an IP
DNS name.
address. And it's not only for an EC2 instance, but anything it is. Okay, there will be a link provided that is either an IP address or an DNS link. Okay, so based on these things, we will be able to connect it to the environment. So using VPC, we can isolate our resource in the sense we can have a range of IP addresses allocated to our environment. Only within that IP addresses we will be able to use. And the other thing is, okay, the other thing is, it's not only having a particular set of IP addresses, the people will be able to access, okay, they will be able to access the environment only when they are trying to connect from that similar IP addresses. So there are two instances created. One is created in a public cloud and the other one is created in a separate VPC. Okay, so how will that work when it is created in a separate VPC? It Those two will not be able to connect. It's because their range of IP addresses will be different and they are considered to be two different network instances. So they say you cannot RDP or you cannot SSH to the instances. So that's what happens. So using a VPC, we will have a range of IP addresses provided to our EC2 instances and a particular, you know, um, firewall. It's a kind of firewall created to our environment. And apart from that, we also have security groups and key pairs. So all that stuff. With that, Amazon says you can have your own cloud in the Amazon without any disturbance, without anybody's intervention into your environment. That's what Amazon says. So hope you guys understood what's VPC, how and what way it works. There are some more points I just need to discuss with you guys. Are you okay? You understood whatever we have discussed so far? We'll go ahead. Yes, Gus. Yeah. So VPC. The first thing is VPC, virtual private cloud. That's what I've been telling you every time. And what happens with this VPC? With respect to VPC, we can create a virtual data center in the cloud. A virtual data center which is dedicatedly assigned to your infrastructure, which is dedicatedly assigned to you because you create on your requirement. So it's up to you. And it is logically isolated section of AWS cloud. So there is a logic in it that it is isolated to a particular organization based on the set of IP addresses and all, and the firewall we create around that. And we can launch, AWS resources in a virtual network. We define whatever the way we define that network VPC. In that, we can launch any AWS resources. You remember, while creating an EC2 instance, we always used to select a VPC. Alright, I'll show you. Let me show you that. And it's not only that we can launch instances in the virtual network we define, it's also we have complete control over our virtual networking environment, so nobody can touch that, and including selection of our own IP addresses range and creation of subnets. What do you mean by subnets? Can somebody tell me what do you mean by subnet? Yeah.
Uh, there will be one A, one B, like in
uh,
regions there are three types.
those are nothing but availability zones.
Yeah, well,
Okay, subnets are nothing but availability zones. So what we can do is we can create our own IP range, IP addresses range, create a particular subnets of our own requirement, and configuration of route tables and network gateways. So we can do all these things in VPC. Route table and network gateway. We will understand these things, don't worry. What's route table, why it is useful, and what is network gateway, and why it is useful, we will understand. So, it's too slow.
sir, what is TCP, sir?
Mm,
What is TCP?
TCP IP addresses range. TCP are nothing but IP addresses, different type of IP addresses. Okay. So I'll try to launch an EC2 instance. Here you see, of course, we go with default one, go with, and this is where it's asking us to select the VPC, and the VPC has certain range of IP addresses 172.31.0.0.16. That's the default VPC. So we will see what is default, what is custom VPC. There are two different type of VPC, and if you wanted, you can create your own new VPC. That VPC which you create will become a custom VPC. And subnet, you see. So subnet also we have to define. Subnets are nothing but the availability zones. So this region has three availability zones, and when you create your own VPC, either you create a subnet in different subnets, your own subnets in all the default subnets, one in each, or you can create multiple subnets in the same availability zone. But for about a high availability environment, it doesn't make sense creating all the subnets in one particular availability zones, because that if that zone is not properly working, not reachable, then it's waste of creating multiple subnets in that. So what we do is, generally when we create subnets, we usually go create one in each availability zone, or maybe multiple in each availability zone. So if one availability zone doesn't work properly, then it goes to other one. So this is what we do. We create that, and we select that virtual VPC, and we create our own subnets, and then go ahead. And rest everything is same as it is. So I'll cancel this, come back. So fine. Okay, so that is what things. And now it's also possible, like we have discussed about different type of clouds, public, private, okay, and also hybrid cloud. You know what do you mean by hybrid cloud? Can somebody? Hybrid cloud?
Large data,
Um, no.
which
Any other answer? It's a type of cloud, I'm saying. So let's understand this way. I gave you an example of bank, you remember initially during our demo. So bank people will have a web application wherein people can access their accounts sitting at their homes and logging into the bank's web page. For example, if it is ICICI.com, this is a bank, you log in into ICICI.com. That's all, you'll be able to log in. And if you have an account, you can just go log into your account and then do all the transactions, whatever you wanted. You wanted to send money to somebody, which means transfer, or you wanted to check your balance and move somewhere here and there, and then you wanted to pay bills. So all that stuff can be done, and that is nothing but the application wherein everybody should be able to access. Okay, and whatever the database, they'll have a database to have all their data stored in it, and it will have all the financial data in it. The financial data is nothing but how much amount each person is having in their account. For example, I'm the person having, you know, 1000 rupees in Indian currency in my bank account, and if I able to, connect it to the database, then go and change that 1000. If I add two more zeros just beside that 1000, what happens? It will go to 1 lakh. So who will bear that loss? I'm just giving you a small number. If I get the access, I'll go increase many number of zeros. But will that be possible? Right? Banks will be very careful that their database should not be accessed by anybody, and their application should be accessed by everybody, whoever it is. So in such situation, things which need not to be, which should not get any access, will be created and placed in a particular network, in a virtual network, that is nothing but private network. So the other people will not be able to access that except for the bank people. And the application which needs to be accessed by everybody will be kept in an open network, that is public network, public cloud. So hybrid cloud is nothing but understand the combination of private and public. So the database created will be in the private cloud and the application created will be in the public cloud. It's nothing but we'll have two different instances or servers created, one in each. So the instance which is created in a private network will have the database created on that, and the instance which has created in the public network will have application developed into that. So people will be able to access. And when they are trying to request for something, there will be a communication established in between public and private, that is in one-way direction. Only the database can give the information wanted by somebody, some user, when they request. For example, my account details will also be in database only, not in the application. So when I request, I mean, like, I wanted to check the details of my account and all, it automatically needs to go and ping the private network database only. So how is that possible? There is, a connection established in between. With respect to that, okay, they will understand, okay, they'll just verify, okay, if this is a valid request, then it allows. The private network database will give requested data to the public network instance. From there, people will be able to access. That will be validated, authenticated with respect to your password and all, and not all the data. And you don't understand from where you're getting your data, that we will see. So that is what hybrid cloud, and we can also have hybrid cloud created with respect to this VPC. Excuse me. So we can create a hardware virtual private network, that's VPN, and connection between our corporate data center and our VPC. So we can have that additionally using hybrid cloud in VPC. And with a VPC, what and all we can do, understand this. So within a VPC, we can launch instances into a subnet of our choosing. Okay, so that is even practically is also possible within a VPC. Whichever the subnet you wanted, you can choose and then launch an instance into that. And not only that, assign a custom IP address range in each subnet. If it is a private VPC, we can, we usually have to provide a particular range of IP addresses, and using that custom IP address range, we will be able to launch our instances. So assign custom IP addresses range in each subnet. Then configure route table between subnets. So why do we need a route table? To have a communication between one subnet to another subnet. The route table works. There are multiple subnets we can create in a VPC, okay, and to have a communication, to understand, okay, these are all the subnets are belonging to one particular network, okay, we can have a communication between all the services created in all these subnets. The route tables are created and assigned to that. That is, the route tables created will be in between subnets only, not externally. Internally it will work. You clear with that? What is route table, guys? Or you want me to repeat again? Yep. Okay. And the next is, you can create internet gateway and attach them to a subnet. Okay, when I said route table, the route table is for internal communication. Alright, within a VPC, when you wanted to connect it to the other subnet instances or services, you'll need to have um, route table. But when you wanted to connect it to the external world, to the internet, how is that possible? Because a virtual private cloud which is created will not only allow stop accessing somebody else from outside to inside, it will also stop accessing you to the external world. So to get connected with the internet, okay, from a virtual private cloud, you need to have an internet gateway created, and that should be attached, okay, in a or to a subnet. So when you create three subnets, for example, to have a communication between those three subnet services or resources, you will create route table and assign to them. And when I say hybrid cloud, okay, I wanted to make one particular subnet as a public and the other subnets as private, so that will work in a hybrid way. So how do I able to allow this one subnet things or services to allow and connect to the internet? That is possible by using an internet gateway created and attached to that subnet. So only that subnet will be considered as a public um, what to say,
sir.
yeah.
So we can create a VPC and we can also create subnets, sir.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we can. How many subnets can we create? Create number of subnets, or is there any limited?
It's up to you. You can just have a number of subnets created in that. But the
Okay.
sense is, when you create subnets, okay, you create in all the availability zones, one in each or multiple in each. Do not try to create all the subnets in one availability zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. If you have three subnets, internet gateway is created and attached to one particular subnet. So instances created or resources created in that will be able to connect to the internet, considering that as a public subnet. Okay, and internet gateway allows you to bypass your firewall and go connected to the external world internet. So that's what the internet gateway is useful. Are you clear with that? Yeah, guys? Understand VPC is really very important, so I'm just going point by point. If you are okay
Sir,
for this gateway, we'll go ahead and then understand the other things. Yeah?
for example, if we create a VPC in California region,
Okay.
North California, we have two subnets already available in that region, sir.
Okay.
1A, 1C.
Hmm.
So if you want to create and one more subnet, we should create in one in those subnets or other outside of those subnets.
So let me come back from with your question first. So you wanted to create a VPC in California region. Okay.
Yeah.
The California region has only two availability zones. Your point.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you have created two subnets in one in each. Then next time when you
Okay.
wanted to create another subnet, we will have an option here in VPC that you can create that when you create a subnet, it will automatically go. I mean, like you are creating four subnets at a stretch. Then what happens? By default, the VPC is very smart enough that it will go create all the subnets you are creating by default two in each if you are creating four. So it will just check. Now, for example, you are creating only three subnets. So first it will create one in each, not all the three in one particular availability zone. It will create one in each, and the next one will be created either in 1A or 1B. And of course, it is created. Let's understand this way. It's created in 1A. Okay, so 1A has two subnets, and 1B has only one subnet. And you wanted to create another subnet. So next time when you wanted to create another subnet, VPC will check, okay, 1A is already having two subnets, so 1B is having only one, so let's go create another subnet in 1B. So that's how, it understand it is that smart enough. The VPC is that smart enough. We will understand when we go practically. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Any other thing you wanted to clarify?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay. So internet gateway, root table are done, and then in a VPC when created, we can have a proper security control, a much better security control over our AWS resources in a VPC. That is what the best thing about VPC, and instance security groups for various instances. So we will have separate security groups created in that VPC that will not be outside, will not be accessed by the other VPC things, and subnetwork access control list. Okay, subnet network access control list. We can also create that. So another layer of ACLs, access control lists, are another layer of things, security purpose. So these are all we can do within a VPC. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. I'm sorry for this disturbance today. So now let's go and understand the default and custom VPC. Every region, once you create your AWS account, every region will have its default VPC created. Okay. So everything you do will be uh, created or launched in that VPC only. Without VPC, you cannot do anything. So by default, the Amazon will create a default VPC for you for all the regions. Okay, really understand this. By chance, okay, by any chance, if you delete this default VPC of any region, okay, if you delete, there is no other option that you have to contact AWS support team only to get the default VPC back. So you have to raise a request with them and they will create this default VPC and then give it to you back. So do not ever try to delete default VPCs, and unfortunately you do that, then better stop using that region, go to other region and do your work. You clear with that? So that's about default. And when we wanted to compare default VPC versus custom VPC, the default VPC is user friendly. Of course, we have practiced so many things, EC2, S3 and all we have seen, all those things we have seen in the default VPC only. So we'll not have any problem. We can directly access anything. We can have um, connections with the internet. We can just possibly do anything connecting to the other instances and all, allowing us to immediately deploy instances. So that's what default VPC user-friendly nature. So all the subnets in a default VPC have an internet gateway attached to that. So all the subnets, it's nothing but all the availability zones by default will have an internet gateway. So whichever the availability zone or whichever the subnet you create your instances, by default you'll be able to access to the internet. So that is the thing, that is the possible thing. Okay, and each EC2 instance has both public and private IP address in either default or custom VPC, anything it is. Each EC2 instance created will have both what to say, private IP address and public IP address. Public IP address is used to connect to that instance, and private IP address will work within that. Okay, so that's the thing about comparison between default and custom VPC. So what and all we can do under default VPC will be a little difficult to do all those things in a custom VPC. So that's what I'm supposed to say. And with respect to VPC, we can also do peering. So peering in the sense what? VPC peering, understand, VPC peering is nothing but connecting to different VPCs created. So it's not only that you can create one VPC in a region, you can have multiple VPCs created in a region. It's up to you. So when you create multiple VPCs in a region, and when you wanted to connect between those VPCs, you can still do that using VPC peering. So what it does, it allows us to connect one VPC with another via a direct network route using private IP addresses, and it does not need to have internet. So that's the best thing about VPC peering. And instances behave as if they were on the same private network. So that is the VPC peering usefulness. And you can peer VPCs with other AWS accounts as well as with other VPCs in the same account. So other account VPCs, and within the same account multiple VPCs also can be peered. The peering can be done. Okay, you getting my points, right? Guys, you can disturb me anytime in between if you don't understand anything. And so I said other AWS accounts can also have peering. We can peer with them. Peering is actually, but when we are doing a peering, it is in a star configuration. That is, if you have 5 VPCs, VPC A, B, C, D, okay, this VPC A, B, C, D, and E as well, 5 I said, right? So E, from VPC A, let's understand this way. Excuse me. So from VPC A, okay, if you are trying to peer the other VPCs like from A to B, A to C, A to D, A to E, if you have done peering, so you will be able to connect from A to B, A to C, A to D, A to E. Okay, since peering is done only in this way. But it is not that, okay, now B and C are connected to A, VPC A, So since we are having established connection from A to B, A to C, excuse me. So it's not possible you directly connect from B to C. So that is not possible. It's not transitive peering. There is no transitive peering. Transitive peering is in the sense B is connected to A and C is also connected to A. So it's not possible to connect B and C through A. The transitive peering is not possible. So when you wanted to establish a connection between B and C, you must have to go and establish another type of peering in between B and C. Then only they will be able to connect it. Is that clear? Yes. Are you all clear with what we have to what we have just discussed? Yes, guys. Please answer me. Okay. So, what's the what do you want me to explain again?
Peering, sir, yeah.
Peering. So, see, peering is nothing but what connecting. Now, you have one VPC created. I have one VPC created, and we both are now having an agreement in between to work together. Okay. When we wanted to work together, we should be able to connect to each other, right? How is that possible? You have your organization in one network, with one VPC, and I have in another VPC. So how do we able to connect to each other? In that situation, peering helps us. Okay. So this peering, once established in between VPC to VPC, we will be able to connect to each other, considering that your organization, your infrastructure and my infrastructure are within the same network. It will consider that way. So that help us to connect to each other. Are you clear with that? Yeah. Or you want me to give another example? So guys, if you are okay with all the things theoretically whatever we have discussed, um, whatever it is, we'll stop for today. Okay. And we'll continue the lab of VPC tomorrow, and if time permits, I'll go ahead and complete the rest. Okay, will that be fine for you? Excuse me. So what you do is just go through the video and try to understand all the points, whatever we have discussed so far. So once it is done, we will go and create or have a lab tomorrow. And please wait for some time. If I'm not able to get up from the bed and start on time like today, okay, and unfortunately my mobile has also got switched off, and I could not able to get up because of this cold and things. So please wait. I'll definitely try to come up. Okay, then we'll continue. We'll finish our lab for tomorrow. Okay, guys.
Sir, can I ask?
Yeah.
Sir, can I ask one more thing, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead.
So, what is enterprise architecture, sir, in Amazon?
Enterprise architecture. Where did you see that?
I saw it in some job posting, like some requirement.
So enterprise architecture in the sense your own. I mean, like for your uh, environment, if you wanted to create a particular infrastructure, so we have to architect. It's nothing but we have to define our infrastructure. And how is that possible, defining our infrastructure? It is usually possible by taking a particular VPC with certain IP addresses range, and a number of servers and how it should be, whether it needs a high availability environment, whether it needs auto scaling, or it is only done with load balancer. So everything will be designed. That is what architecture. And um, now being cloud engineers, what we do is we just simply um, create things, but we do not design anything. There will be architects who does that for us. Whenever a client comes to us with a certain requirement, so the architect come into picture with project head and the client. So whenever the client says his requirement, he will just understand and define a particular, he just create a design based on his requirement. So using that design, we go execute and create the infrastructure. So that is what enterprise architecting. Okay, so that is architect level. We don't do that, and for that we need to have a lot of understanding.
Okay.
Okay, we need to understand so many things. So don't worry, don't crack your brain.
So it is a designing of a
Yes,
cloud interface.
cloud infrastructure. When you wanted to move your infrastructure
Yeah.
into cloud based on the client's requirement, you should be able to design something. So based on that design, see, you will not directly connect or contact the client, the project head, and the heads will be in contact with the clients. So how do you understand what and all you need to create, right? So that is what the architects will be there in every company when it is in AWS. So the architects, it's not only AWS, any cloud it is, the architects will define the infrastructure, and that's provided to us. Based on that design, we go and establish or create the infrastructure.
So what it means like AWS solution architect also the same?
No, no, no. Solution architect means we only understand. Of course, if you go SysOps level, the next level of AWS, and understand. For this, you need to have at least 4 to 5 years of cloud real-time experience. Then only you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Since you're learning initially, you're not supposed to go and do that. It needs to have a lot of understanding. But if you get an opportunity, you try doing it. But it's really, um, a challenging task because you are designing the infrastructure. So anything goes wrong, it comes to you.
Yeah.
So that needs a lot of experience. That needs a lot of understanding. What way the level, I mean, the infrastructure behave, what client is expecting, and based on his expectations, what and all we need to have, and also need to think about cost. Okay, client initially says my budget is this, and my requirement is this. Within that, you frame an infrastructure and then run the show. So we don't know everything in that way, right? We why do we crack our brains to create infrastructure and based on the requirements and all those things? So it's not that we do that, but it is by defaultly an architect does that. It's a kind of developing the infrastructure, designing the course. I'm sorry, not course, but designing the architecture infrastructure. Okay, so don't worry. And in case if somebody asks you for enterprise architecture, better stay back. Or if you wanted an
Okay.
experience, you go try, so that you'll understand what level of experience or what level of AWS knowledge they are expecting from you. You'll also understand if you are really interested to go as an architect. Then you can work on that, learn things, and become an AWS architect. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anything there?
What is Elastic Benchmark?
Elastic Beanstalk. Excuse me. It's just mentioned underneath of that. You see, run and manage web apps. Alright, Elastic Beanstalk is
Yeah.
nothing but for applications. When you wanted an application to be executed, run, they will write a code in that is not belongs to us, that is totally comes under for developers usually. So when an application is created and that needs to be executed, they write a code for that, and then once the code is executed, that application will automatically created and then run. So that is what Elastic Bean Stack, run and manage web apps. Okay, this is a little scripting. You need to have a little scripting knowledge over there, and also development knowledge, maybe application knowledge, or applications run usually based on programs, so Java, something like that. You need to have an idea. So it's not part of our solutions architect level. That's why we did not discuss anything about this. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
okay. Any other?
No, sir. That's
Okay, then fine. See you tomorrow. We'll have VPC lab for tomorrow. Then